Today's video is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit TeacherCast.net/StoryboardThat for a limited time offer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast App Spotlight. You are listening to the podcast that brings you the best in educational technology right from the app developers themselves. I am thrilled today that you have decided to make TeacherCast your home for your professional development. My name is Jeff Bradbury, and if this is the first time you're listening to the show, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great show for you. Our guest today is exitticket.org, and this is another listener request show. And of course, if you're out there listening, you can contact the show by leaving us a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail, finding us online at teachercast.net/iTunes and YouTube, and of course, emailing us at feedback@teachercast.net. And we are really thrilled today to share with you exitticket.org. We have an amazing guest today. I want to bring onto the show Mr. Dan Adaletta. Dan, how are you today?
Hi. I'm doing well. Jeff, how about yourself?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what's happening over at exitticket.org.
So I was a manager of educational technology. I was overseeing an iPad implementation program when my head of school asked me to replace the clickers that had been working well for us when I brought them over from my last school. And everything was going great, and I was trying different sort of apps out. And lo and behold, I found Exit Ticket eventually, and I liked it so much, I made up a little YouTube video for the rest of my faculty, and wouldn't you know it, the guys over at Exit Ticket saw it and picked me right up, and now I've been really traveling around the country, making videos and training districts as they start using Exit Ticket, and it's just been crazy how fast it's taken off.
You know, this idea of student feedback is such an important one these days. As we're going digital, we do tend sometimes in classrooms to lose that teacher-student relationship because we are so technology friendly. But Exit Ticket really has come up with a way to solve that problem. Tell us a little bit about how Exit Ticket works.
So, not to get too jargony, but a competency-based education program means like you're tracking learning targets and standards. So your assessments are all linked to a particular standard or concept you're trying to assess. And being able to see a grade book not sorted by the names of your assignments or the dates of your assignments, but rather the ideas that you're trying to measure, means you can quickly establish that, yes, my students have got this, and you can move to the more hands-on, rigorous type of education that a one-to-one program has always promised us. And so it's really exciting that we're using assessments and data not for the sake of assessments and data, but rather to really accelerate the process and get to the fun part of teaching. And that's why I liked it, and that's why I was recommending it.
And how have you seen teachers using it as you travel around and help people out?
That's the crazy part. I keep on seeing a really creative and very wild implementation strategies, and it's cool to see how versatile and friendly, well, flexible rather, the app is. In the App Center, it starts as a free program, but you can sort of add on to your free subscription different paid elements that add whether more data analysis or more gamification elements, however you sort of want to teach, you can do that. So we have universities using it as an attendance system. We have coaches using it as a discussion platform to break down their game footage. There's all sorts of really cool ways to either flesh out a discussion or analysis of how students are comprehending something.
And you know, one of the things I'm noticing on your website, exitticket.org, is you guys offer a lot of really great resources. Tell us a little bit about the Teacher Toolkit.
So this is what I'm spending my time when I'm not online and talking to teachers or talking to you, Jeff. I'm looking around and building resources that'll help teachers learn and share exit tickets. So uh, up on the website on exitticket.org, if you go to the toolkit, then you'll be able to schedule a webinar with me. You'll be able to read our uh, user guide in our video library. We've got a certification course you can take to earn a badge and that you're qualified to use Exit Ticket, and some of the advanced pedagogy that really brings out the most of it. There's just a lot there, and it's refreshing to see a tool. Even though I'm now working for this team, it's refreshing to see an app that spends so much of their focus and time and treasure to try to build teacher supports, and now I have a job because of it. It's really cool to see them taking care of the community first.
ExitTicket.org. They're great on Twitter. You can, of course, find them at Exit Ticket. Why don't you give us a little tour of Exit Ticket?
Sounds great. Let's do it. Okay, this is exitticket.org. I've logged in, and now I can see both a teacher view and a student view. I'm going to jump in and start off right at the fun stuff, show you what the questions look like in action. But then I'll double back and I'll explain sort of the simple nuts and bolts about how this was all set up, and also what it's good for after class as well. So in this view over here, I have a student view that's logged in. I can see my progress last week as compared to this week. Since this is a new semester and a new student, I can't see my progress that I had last week. But I am also informed that I'm one question away from unlocking a new smiley face. And that's one of the features that sort of lets you know that Exit Ticket was designed and developed by teachers. And you can tell that because we noticed that electronic assessments rather, students were hurrying through them because they can see the results right away. There was just a natural inclination to race through. And so having rewarding students for consecutive correct answers increases their conscientiousness because they're slowing down to try to preserve their hot streak and unlock that next level. Okay, now that I'm here, I can scroll down and I can see the available assessments. I'll take the assessments here, and let me just fly through any old thing. I'm not even looking. Oh no, I lost my hot streak. And I'm just racing through. And Jamestown founded was 1607. And you'll notice that I've been reset back to the beginning smiley face because I hurried. So now I'm all finished, and it updates me on my current status. 2 more until I get to my next smiley face, and you can see how I'm doing this week. Okay, over in the teacher view, I can see what a particular student answered. I'll see the questions. If I select on their tab, I can see what the correct answer was and what they submitted as well. And you can see also, you can override students' answers. Let's say a student misclicked something and they have the work right there on the paper and you want to throw them a bone, you can override their answer and change what they had selected. But what's really cool about this heat map, and I think what differentiates Exit Ticket from a lot of the other assessment tools out there, is this Reteach tab. And being able to make actionable decisions based on the data that you're seeing is really what accelerates the learning here. And so if I kick it over to the Reteach tab, and over in this tab, in this window, this would be the projector view. And what I can do is, from the heat map, from my teacher view, I can remote control what the projector is showing. So let's switch the projector over to the Reteach tab as well, so we can do some full group remediation just in time after the assessment results come in. So right here, we've got a debate going on, and we're trying to review what primary sources are, and the majority of my students got the correct answer that arrowheads would be a primary source when discussing the Iroquois, but there's a minority of my groups of my students that think the textbook was the correct answer, and I want to flesh that out, and I want to address that now, not tomorrow, when that misunderstanding maybe has cemented into a miscomprehension. So I'll scroll down, and I'll be able to see, okay, which students have gotten it right and which students got it wrong. And only I can see this from the teacher view, but this information allows me to tease out some great discussions, and there are some really powerful remediation strategies, like we've already said, available on the toolkit for you to review. And so all right here, this is the heat map. It's chock full of other great teacher-friendly sort of features, as including being able to reset passwords pretty quickly, manually seeing long-form answers, and the ability to override them, whether they're correct or not. It's all sorts of fun stuff. But let me now zoom out and show you what that data looks like after class. I can now go to the reports view and see a mastery-based gradebook like I had been discussing before. And so you can see when I click on a particular unit, it breaks down the learning targets within. And let me zoom up so you can see it a little better. And let me just refresh this now that I've zoomed up. And what it allows me to do is a sort of a diagnostic that you couldn't really do very easily with a traditional gradebook. Because within a single assessment, you could be assessing a handful of concepts or standards. And so this allows you to tag each one, so you can see if I was looking at Beth, and if I was pulling Beth aside because her overall average is a 68 and I'd like to address that, I can quickly look and say this standard, and this standard, or where she's scoring in the red. And if I look at them, this one is about key terms, and this one is straight from the Common Core ELA standards, and it's just about the meaning of words. I can see there's a pattern that when it comes to vocabulary acquisition, Beth is really struggling. So when I pull her for an intervention, at a glance I can see that, and we can start discussing flashcards and other sort of remediation strategies personalized for her. And it's just a really effective way to take the quote surround data and make it teacher friendly.
Dan, it seems like this is a really neat idea, and it seems like this is really simple for both the teacher to create the information and also for the students to take it and get that positive feedback and assessment that we're looking for.
We hope so. Some of the depth and rigor that you can really tease out of this system isn't even active by default. It's kept at its utmost clean version. For example, let me show, I'm sure a lot of your viewers may be math teachers, and if I switch it over to the settings and preferences and I look it into the assessment tool, by default you're on the general engine, but you can switch it over to the math engine, and this is one of the components that's always free for exit ticket users. This math engine allows you, when you're authoring an assessment, to add in questions using math type. So I can create a new question, and right here I can pull from a variety of equations that are very easy to manipulate, and then I can just move it away, and there it is.
Tell us a little bit about the feedback that you're getting from teachers who are using Exit Ticket.
So one of the nice things in the App Center is that there are all sorts of apps that you can press notify me when available. So we're expanding in all sorts of new ways, and so you can just select notify me when available on all sorts of new apps that have almost all been contributed by teacher suggestions. So now you can select one, and you can notify me when available also counts as sort of a vote. So our development team is being very closely tied to how the student feedback or the teacher feedback is. And so that's really driving some of the reforms. So you can see teacher feedback. in the improvements to the item bank that allows you to share and search for publicly available assessments. You can see that in a lot of our teacher training tools, because the districts have asked us to include badging programs, and so that's why that's there as well. So you can see a lot of that feedback right from there. But I think what the most common message that we're getting is more support for open-ended questions. And so this rapid feedback is great, and teachers are starting to come on board with some of the ways you can do with rapid checks for understanding, but there's still such a need for a humanities type approach to this assessment. And so let me point out that if you were to do something like a launch ticket and you created an assessment that was free response, that you will be able to grade them manually by hand while the assessment is live, if you're so inclined. You can also, what I suggest to teachers that are really interested in this is if you select an assessment type that doesn't have an S here, that means it won't be scored. So a practice type of an assessment full of free response questions means you can collect open-ended responses and you can view them and discuss them in class using the projector view, and you don't need to worry about going through and grading each by hand, and yet you can still use that as a very powerful platform to launch a discussion about answer submissions.
And does the teacher have opportunity to provide feedback within the system so that the student can see that feedback perhaps on their mobile app?
So the student feedback looks like this. So so I've just logged in right here. This is what my student views. They can see their growth over time. And if they select the scorebook, you are now able to scroll down that mastery-based gradebook for you in particular. So this type of comments and feedback that you're looking for really is shaped around this view. So what you can see is as you scroll down, you can identify a student can see that this is the particular skill in which I need remediation. So I've seen it personally, and this is why I selected Exit Ticket, because when I was reviewing different apps as a classroom teacher, is that a student came to me, pulled out their device, logged in, and scrolled down and said, "Mr. A, I need help with this standard. Can you help me with this?" And I was just over the moon that here was a student that went through a mastery-based scorebook, identified the particular concept that needed remediation, tried to teach herself using flipped resources. Failing to do so, she came to me, and I was able to see the pattern that we had already discussed before, like that this was a student that was in need of language acquisition skills. And I can just identify a pattern on the fly like that, and it was just too cool for me.
Dan, where can we find more information out about this, and how do students get a chance to try this out?
So it'll always be free for students. So a student account will never be charged, and the base level is always free for teachers and ready to upgrade. But if you want to check us out online, please go to twitter.com/exitticket, facebook.com/exitticket, and you can drop Jordan a line. Jordan runs our social media, and she's very personable. She'll take good care of you. Or you can also go to exitticket.org, and at the bottom there's a little chat button, and usually I'm on the other end.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks a lot, Jeff, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, my friends, that wraps up another episode of the TeacherCast App Spotlight. I want to thank again our good friends from exitticket.org for coming on the show today and sharing their great response system to us. There's, of course, many ways that you can connect and also suggest some episodes for future TeacherCast podcasts. You can, of course, leave us a voice message at teachercast.net/voicemail. Subscribe to us on teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube, and send us a little message by emailing feedback@teachercast.net. Thank you so much for allowing TeacherCast to be a part of your professional development network, and I hope you have a moment to share TeacherCast with your PLN. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Please join me each Sunday night on TeacherCast.tv for the Tech Educator Podcast live at 7 o'clock. We love it when we have a great audience. Until next time, keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.